talking about that, we all, make mistakes,
Sure.
and everything. Your running mate has started the Freedom Act thing where they got the signatures for Lubbock to be, because Lubbock has a chance now. It didn't pass through the city council. So now it's going to be able to have a chance for Lubbock citizens to vote on it. So other cities such as, Austin, Denton, Elgin, Killeen, they've already passed that.
And they're being sued by the Attorney General.
Yeah, I saw that too. But so if there's a chance that Lubbock, if it does get voted on it and it passes, what are some challenges you see with that? And then are the cities right now that have passed it, what problems are they having right now?
I will tell you this, Colorado, and I've been in California and stuff, places that have passed it. I know people are saying, well, it's only 4 ounces. That's a lot of weed. The problem I have with it, and again, people can disagree with me. I know Adam does, and that's fine. He's got his point of view. I have mine. It has really turned a lot of it's unloaded a lot of crime. It's unloaded a lot of deaths. People that are driving under influence, and especially younger kids. It's become more and more accessible to children, all the way down to 12, where you're seeing use at an unprecedented rate. I'm completely against it because right now we already have enough violent crime out there. In fact, the sheriff was sharing with me the other day that there was 6 drive-by shootings in 6 days that week, and all of them were marijuana related.
Hi, this is important, and I really want to be involved in this damn dog.
Please do. Yeah, go ahead. But that's my concern is there's a lot of statistics. In fact,
So there were 6 drive-bys in Lubbock about weed?
They were all related to weed and weed trafficking. Like they were drive-by shootings. Yeah, they were trying to get it. They were attacking people that were there, and there's obviously more, but just in the past 6 days leading up to that one day when we were talking about it, and again, everybody's going to have their opinion about this, and they're welcome to it. And I know this isn't a popular decision. I'm going to tell you about it anyway. But to me, I think the care of the city and the well-being of the citizens, and especially, again, not giving children access to something they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Because if you're saying 4 ounces is enough, 4 ounces is a big old bag.
Would you say it was 250 joints?
Yes, 250 joints, And so that's a lot of weed. That's not personal use.
I don't think
right.
I don't think it's what is the word I'm looking for? The weed is strong, and a 12-year-old mind should not be smoking.
They should not,
and they shouldn't be drinking.
And it should be regulated.
It should be, and here's another thing too. A lot of fentanyl that's been, and a lot of fentanyl deaths were from that were weed. It was weed laced.
Can't overlook this either.
Yeah. And it's a real deal. And so I'm never going to want to endorse the use of an illicit drug. And somebody posted on my deal one time, not too long ago, well, what do you want to make alcohol illegal again? Okay, one, it's, we saw it, and they're trying to act like, well, it's all this is happening because weed isn't illegal. But you're seeing what's happening when weed is illegal, when they're legalizing weed, and the crime has gone up, not down. So, do I have issues when somebody's like they're smoking weed or something? That's them. If they're an adult, do it. I don't care. I'm not going to come up to you now. I'm not going to try to legalize it for you. That's your choice, and you take that risk. But I'm not going to make it legal so the police officers have a hard time arresting you with it when you've got it around your children or around potentially where it can be distributed to children by nefarious characters.
Those type of people should be arrested. You're right. But
I do understand that, but I also think about again, we're a university town, so I'm thinking about a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old that, yes, is going to get high and whatever. They get caught with a joint. Should they be charged to the highest, what I mean? Well,
and here's the thing, if they're charged with the joint.
Because to my understanding, that's kind of what the Freedom Act is.
It's
the decriminalize,
Well, the Freedom Act is allowing 4 ounces to be legal, where they cannot, like a police officer, if you see somebody with what looks like 4 ounces, could be 5. How are they supposed to measure it? They can't.
Are we sure it's 4? I thought it was 2.
It's 4 ounces, I believe.
Will you look it up,
4.
please?
It's 4 ounces.
I want to be fair here.
Yeah, and let's say that you get pulled over and he sees it right on you.
No, just look up the Freedom Act.
Oh, freedom.
That's what you need.
Now, why are we allowing them where they can't do anything about that? They're not, and so let's say there's kids in the car. They still can't do anything about that. And that police officer can be, I mean, there's all these penalties that they have to go through for doing something about that. You know what happens when you allow that much weed there, all of a sudden kids have access to it. There's already kids that have access in schools as it is. And drugs are being passed out left and right. And you can go to any school and they'll tell you it's happening. Now imagine if 4 ounces is legal, and let's say they have it in their car, they can say, well, that's my dad's. But they're distributing in schools. You all of a sudden now you have made turned children into bigger drug dealers. And now let's say some of that's laced with fentanyl. They can't even look to see if it is, and somebody dies.
I'm sure these cases exist.
And I will tell you this: it is way, way, way harder to go back on something like this and say we made a mistake, which is what Colorado wishes they could do right now.
I respect you for standing up against, because this is like
and I'm talking to, you know what, I'm going to lose a 1,000 votes here, and I'm okay with that.
It's a big issue.
I want people to know how I feel about this.
A lot of people that recommended to talk about things.
And I know, and that's one reason. And again, I'm being real. I'm going to be honest with everybody.
If it's, like Bradley said, we vote in May when we can vote for the mayor, it's decriminalized.
Right.
If you're elected mayor, what are you going to do about that?
What can I do? If you're the mayor, what can I do?
Okay.
I mean, it's there, and here's the thing.
Isn't that like a we the people issue?
Yeah, it is. It's not even just a we the people issue. What can I do? The people voted on it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to defend lawsuits. I mean, that's the situation a lot of these other cities have gone in there. I don't want it here.
Because they're just going to get sued, probably.
We're going to get sued, and we're going to get sued bad. And I can tell you right now, the Attorney General, and I know him. He's a friend of mine, Ken Paxson. Yeah. Oh, is it 2 ounces?
Yeah.
That's way better than 4.
Because in Colorado,
but still, it's not good. Yeah, it's not. It's still not good. But here's the thing: this Attorney General we have, and I know him, Ken Paxson. He is a friend of mine, and
I'd like to have him on the podcast.
And he is not going to relent from this, because there's a lot of. And again, I'm looking. I may disagree with you, but it's because I'm looking out for the safety.
It's going to cost a lot of money
of the city, of the people of the city, and the damage that the places that have legalized it that you see.
Tony, so can I be honest with you? Mm-hmm. I don't smoke it, but if a grown adult wants to, they should. I'll just be real. I don't think it's going to pass.
I don't think
it's going to pass.
I don't think it will here either, but I think it's going to get real close. Now, here's the problem with that again, is when it does, now we're stuck with it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and these kids, when you start seeing stuff happening at the school level and stuff, how do we unpass it? How do we go back and retract
Wouldn't you just regulate it more?
Well, can you though? Because it's an ordinance passed by the city, and that's one thing that you have to go back through.
Steps of taking going back to how the Freedom Act was even created is going back, and
you have to go back through in the same way, proposing things.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: the one thing that I will do,
impossible. It's a journey.
It's a journey, and it's going to be a journey that's going to be worth taking, because I promise you, the second that this thing goes through, if it does, everybody's going to wish it didn't.
So you see marijuana as a drug?
And here's the thing. Right now it's a drug, and I see it as a drug because I'm going with the legal definition that's out there. And I do know, based on what we're seeing from other cities and other states, the damage it's causing. And, people are going to say, well, when you smoke weed, you get a little buzz, whatever, and nobody wants to do any damage. You just want to eat. And that's what I'm hearing from my friends. Okay, fine. That's their opinion. That's one thing. But the marijuana of today isn't like the marijuana of back in the day.
I guarantee you, and people's minds are destroyed from this weed.
Right. So I don't know. And again, if you're looking for somebody to say, I think it's a great idea, we should do it, I'm not your guy. I don't want it here. Fair. I don't. And I'm just being very honest. And like I said, I know all of these people listening probably say, well, I'm not going to vote for him. I'm sorry you feel that way. But at least, it's like I told you, I'm not going to back down from a situation. Mm-hmm. I don't want it here. And not because I'm against people that smoke marijuana or something, but I just don't want it to be so accessible that these children are going to have greater access to it, because that's what's going to happen. And they're innocent.
Do you think that they would have more access to it? Or
absolutely.
Or is it just kind of like the weight of that penalty? Because that's also I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier.
And that also,
like a college student being charged to the highest degree. Yeah. Say they do have the full 2 ounces, right? And whoever cop stops them, they have to do their job. They're gonna have to charge them, whatever. And they go to jail, prison, whatever. That is going to insanely affect somebody's, complete future, career path and everything.
Now this is what I'm talking about. That is from a decision that they chose to make.
Oh, it is. No, it completely is.
And now what I'm talking about are like kids who are
drinking a beer, hitting a stop sign.
Right now, well, there you go. Right,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But what I'm talking about is, that you've got like where maybe a kid goes into somebody's car and sees it and pulls some of it out and sticks it in there and rolls up a joint and starts smoking it, and then something happens. And that's happening a lot in Colorado. Like I said, because now what you're starting to see more and more and more of is hospitalizations and more death and stuff for kids all the way down to 12 years old on average. But there's even lower, but the ones that are really prevalent are at 12. So at 12, and as you said it yourself, these kids are curious, and I said it myself. Now they have access, more unfettered access. And now, let's say that they have it they have it in their backpack. Oh, that's my dad's. But now they're dealing it in schools and stuff, and some other kids that wouldn't have normally had it say, "Oh, this looks cool. Let me smoke it."
I think that's fair.
There's more and more that's available than there is now. So it's happening now.
Oh,
but imagine it multiplied times however many that you think.
It was happening when I was in high school.
Yes.
What I mean?
I think we can all agree kids shouldn't have it. But
No, they shouldn't. But
you think legalizing it?
It's going to make it way more. Way easier. And that's what I'm afraid of. And so I'm just being real here.
Oh yeah. No. And you are making that point because it would just be more accessible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the impact of those decisions wouldn't be so heavy, so they will be less influent. I don't know.
Anyways, I got it.
Anyways, so if it's going to be like the kids are going to get their hands on what they're going to get their hands on regardless, right?
Sure.
Just some of these kids are just, if it's just going to be around and it's getting worse and worse, whether it's weed, pills,
anything,
coke, because the younger these kids get, the more experimental they're getting as the years are going. I'm just worried.
It is. You're right. It's happening a lot.
This is just truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's going to keep happening, wouldn't harm reduction be something that is important to teach these children? Not excusing it, not telling them it is okay to do these drugs, but test your drugs. But it's like I said, these kids are going to do what they're going to do, so they harmlessly smoke this joint because that's what kids are doing. It's laced with fentanyl, or they get a vape, they buy it off a dealer. They don't know that vape is coming straight from New Mexico or Colorado, whatever. It could be mixed with whatever. It could have fentanyl. So would teaching children harm reduction help them? And it goes into the same conversation that we were talking about earlier, is in teaching the kids the harms of the world, the dangers of the world, the dangers that people are trying to inflict on them, letting them know the decisions you make are your decisions, but there are these options. This is how you could test your drugs. This is just something accessible where you could save your own life or your friend's life.
Right. I will tell you this, and you hit the nail on the head. But you don't need the legalization of drugs to teach them that. That's what we were discussing earlier when I was saying let's start teaching that. Let's talk about drug awareness. Let's talk about child trafficking and the dangers and what to look for. Let's talk about all these issues. But taking it back to the drug stuff, yes, absolutely.
Because it's just like you can only fearmonger a kid so much.
Yeah. I mean, but if you show it to them in a way that...
I was raised Marilyn Manson's bad drugs.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. It was just like, where is it? Google. You know what I mean?
So
you can only fearmonger somebody so much before you're just like, you know what? Hey, it is what it is.
You need examples of why drugs are bad? I got a few friends.
Well, there you go. And that's kind of what I'm talking about is people that have been there, done that. Let's let them lead that path.
No, truly. And I'm also saying
that can say it.
I remember reading Crank and Glass and all these,
all
these heavy books, but being able to know that's drug addiction, that is how a spiral happens.
Right.
That is how these these habits start. And so as I started identifying them in friends and everything,
yes.
Exposing myself to literature like that was harsh. Exposing myself to these things guided me to literally just completely steer past it.
And that's what we need to do. You have to be real with them.
Being a teenager in the era of 16 and pregnant did not encourage me and make me think pregnancy's sick.
Yeah, no.
It encouraged me, that looks fucking miserable.
And you know what? But here's the thing.
Steered me.
And I think we should start addressing some of these problems at the age that it's starting to proliferate, right?
Yeah.
But we need to introduce it to them in a way that allows them to understand it without wanting to do it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Just transparently.
But you have to be real.
Yeah.
Because right now, what we're doing isn't working. It's not. Because look at what's happening all across the country. Look at what's happening. So these kids aren't getting the message in the way that it should be delivered to them. And that's one of the things that I really think we should work on. That's why I was telling you that with Luca and some of these others, we're teaming together to do that.
And I completely agree, because these things do need to be regulated and talked about, but I also don't think they need to be snuffed out. I feel like there has to be
I'm with
something.
You. 1000%.
It's like I told you, you're not going to get rid of what's going on. It's going to increase.
But you have to increase awareness of it.
You have to increase
in
awareness,
a way that they don't.
2024, it's only going.
It's going to keep going.
It is impossible to go back to those core values. Sometimes you can hold them, but it's impossible.
To
just make everybody aligned.
But if we can also create awareness without having to have them go out and experiment with all this stuff, but we have to agree that it's there, right? I mean, it's there. These issues they exist. We can't just wish them out of existence. They do exist. That's why I'm telling you, with having you here, I love that you're here because you're challenging me, and I dig that. I really do. It's cool.
Nice. I'm sorry if I'm being
no, not at all. I want you to keep doing that, because that's what we need to hear. If we're going to be involved in city government, we need people like you coming down and telling me exactly how it is, so we can appreciate. Because I promise you, for everyone like you that's talking about this, there's a million others that maybe even have deeper issues that they're trying to address, right? And people are afraid to do that. When I grew up as a up until I was 4.5 years old, I was severely abused. I mean, horribly, to where my uncle had to save my life and brought me back. And I've had to live with that the rest of my life. Back then it was like nobody talked about that stuff, right? There was no CPS, there's no any of this stuff. And things got worse and worse and worse because there wasn't. And luckily, my mom was brave enough to call my uncle and have him come and get me and bring me back to Lubbock. And that's how I ended up here. And that's why I'm still alive. I was horribly malnourished and everything else. But one of the things I will tell you, and I think it's pretty interesting, a little story I'll tell you. When I was in school, because I was so malnourished, I was literally thin. The teachers would have to give me, in the morning they would bring cookies and his big old peanut butter cookies are delicious, and juices and milks. Well, they would give me 2, and then they would give me double lunches because they needed me to start, gaining weight. And I remember some of the classmates were getting upset because I was always getting them. They're like, "Well, he's a student of the month." It was like, "Oh, okay. Well, how do we get student of the month?" Well, you just have to do better than him. And every month, they were saying the same thing. So you know what that made me do? I was like, I want to be student month again. So I'm studying harder, I'm working harder, I'm believing this, right? So you start believing in yourself, and that's the encouragement that these teachers gave me. And at the same time, they're watching my nutritional value and stuff, because again, that wasn't monitored up until that point. So I'm starting from scratch there. I didn't get over 100 pounds till my senior year. I mean, that's how long it took me to finally get to normal state. Now look at me. I found it all. But, honestly, I look at that, and I look at the teaching and coaching, what the right influence can do. Now, not everything's going to be like that, right? It's not. But we have to find a way to reach these kids at that level as they start thinking about experimenting with stuff, or kids that are caught up in that world. And how do we pull them out of it? And that's why this kind of stuff's so important to me, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have the proper direction, the proper mentorship from people that truly, truly, genuinely care about you, that shouldn't have to otherwise. I mean, there were a lot of people in my life that have stepped up for me. And so all I'm doing is paying it forward. And so that's why I say, if I lose votes for, trying to protect these kids, I remember what that was like. And I don't want to have to hand this world over to people that mean harm to children when I know what that feels like. I won't do it. And so I will fight that fight, and I'll fight on that hill. I'll die on that hill, because I'm trying to do the right thing. And if it means I'm not the mayor because, I'm upsetting people that I don't agree with the marijuana, I'm sorry. But just know I'm doing this out of a place of love that I have for the community out here that I live in. And the way that I want to give back to this community is to try to make it a little bit better place for everybody to live in. And especially these college students. I mean, I look at them, and I agree with you. I don't like that if they have a rolled joint or whatever, that they can really pay a penalty that they'll never be able to overcome in their life. I get that. But the answer isn't in is in 2 ounces. I wish that there was another way we could address that, where they could work that off and get it off the record or something, instead of trying to legalize it. There's got to be another option, and maybe once this doesn't pass, we better start finding that option, and that's something that we need to seek. But what I do want to do is I do want to make sure that whatever we do at the city level, that it's the right thing for everybody in the community, not just a select few.